Hello everyone, it is Raider. I am back with a gun video today. Yeah, I'm trying to put more videos out for you get wonderful people. Also, before I get done with this, I forget to do this at the end of videos because it's hard for me to remember. So I'm going to get out of the way right now. If you like the video after it's over, please be sure to not only give it a like, but also tell me what you think about this stuff that's going on in good old US and everything, and some of these lefty ideas that are happening, because I like to hear what other people have to say, whether it's good or bad. Okay, I can handle criticism, and I can handle stupid people. But most importantly, I want to hear what a lot of y'all think, because some of y'all might come up with something that I never thought of before, and I might use it in one of my videos. Just to let y'all know. Anyway, as we're going in, we got this guy, Trump's Sharpie, sitting back here today talking about something that is an argument by the left that they always throw out there. And that is somehow the government can buy back the AR-15s, and the AR-15 is somehow a weapon of war, which it's not. No military on the planet uses it. There are some government agencies that use it, but that's because some government agencies limit themselves to what's available to civilians, because it makes it easier for them to operate inside of a civilian environment. This guy here comes up with it is maybe the military can buy back AR-15s, because that's what an assault weapon is designed for, military use. A couple of things wrong here. One, like I said before, the military doesn't use AR-15s. The closest thing that the military has to an AR-15 would probably classify as a really advanced AR-10, and that would be the SR-25, which is a .308 counter sniper rifle. It's semi-automatic, fires a .308, big round. It actually fires a much more heavier and more lethal round than the AR-15 would. And it's used, I believe, by the Army Rangers as a counter sniper weapon. So they use that to counteract other snipers, basically. It's just a semi-automatic platform with a lot of accuracy behind it. The other problem here is that somehow the government is going to buy something. You can't buy back something that you did not own. Okay? You didn't sell it to me. I bought it from a private seller, or in my case, I bought parts from a private seller and I built it myself. So they don't have the ability to buy back an AR-15. And even if they did, you're talking way more money would have to be expended just to give an honest price. I mean, the idea of, you're going to pay $100 for an AR-15 is ludicrous, considering every AR-15 minimum, the cheapest one's going to hit about $400. Somewhere under $400 if you're a person buying, blemished parts and putting them together, which you can do. And a blemished part it's usually a part that's got a lot of oil on it. People don't want to clean it. A little bit of time and effort. You can take an AR-15 lower receiver that's for some reason someone accidentally got a little bit of oil on it and they consider it blemished. A little bit of time scrubbing on it. You can take all that out and you still have probably a $65 to $100 part that still runs like $100 and $65 part. You just paid probably really cheap money for it. So on that aspect, it's not logical the government's going to buy them back. The buyback is code. It's a dog whistle, which is basically, or it's not a dog whistle, it's a code word for confiscation is what it is. In other words, going door to door, shoving a gun in someone's face with government agents and telling them, surrender your guns or we're going to shoot you. Okay? Just imagine Germans going door to door, taking Jews out of their homes at gunpoint. You understand what the confiscation is going to look like. Okay? That's how they're going to try and do it. And don't talk to me about countries that had a confiscation. That's what it is. It's just a confiscation. You look at Australia, they've had mass shootings. They now have more guns now in that country in private hands than they had before the ban, or before they had their so-called confiscate, where the government forcefully confiscated people's stuff and gave them a shitty amount of money. Well, and that's the thing about a buyback these people don't realize. If I were to go over there as the government cannot legally, in my opinion, I don't think they could do a buyback involuntarily without compensating you for your gun. So if you sit back and you get a gunsmith over there or like a gun dealer, and they say this gun's worth $1,000, if the government's forcing you to give up your property, it's kind of, in my opinion, where eminent domain would take effect. Or the government says, well, we want to seize your property. They have to pay you the exact amount for it. So if a gun dealer comes in and says, yeah, this is a $1,000 AR-15, the government has to pay $1,000 if it's mandatory, in my opinion. Which should be an argument that should be thrown towards Democrats. You're not going to pay $100, $200 for a $300, $400 AR-15. The very minimum, you're going to have to pay $400, and you're going to have to pay someone for their property. Otherwise, if they do this, they can go back eventually and say, well, we seized people's personal property and we only paid them $100. We can seize your whole fucking house. I mean, we want to fix up Chicago, take all the black people's houses, give them $50 for their homes, kick them out, and we'll redevelop the whole thing. See how that slippery slope works. So then another one, let's see, it's an assault weapon. Really, no. An AR-15 is not an assault weapon. The assault weapon doesn't exist. I did say that there are groups in the United States, there are government agencies that use the AR-15. Homeland Security is one of them. And they classify the AR-15 as a PDW, which stands for Personal Defense Weapon. Now, I'm in the camp because I made about 2 of these AR-15s from parts. Now, basically, I've bought a whole bunch of parts and just assembled it myself. That the AR-15 is not an assault weapon, nor would I classify it as a PDW. Assault weapon's a made-up term. PDW is not. And the thing about it is, it can be a PDW, but the AR-15 can also be a hunting implement. It can be a trunk gun. It can be a home defense pistol caliber carbine. What a lot of people don't know is the aftermarket parts. The design of the AR-15 actually puts it more towards a modular platform. And when I say modular platform, the original intent of the AR-15, when it was built by Eugene Stoner, was to develop one gun that could service every job that the military would have combat-wise that would require a rifle or some sort of small arm, short of like a bazooka or a grenade launcher. And the concept, well, I mean, you can make, if you look at earlier concepts of the AR-10, for instance, the AR-10, there was a sniper version of it. There was, no, my Game Boy Advance thing just came, my emulator just popped up. It's game time. I haven't played in a while. I got Pokemon in there for my kid. Anyway, it can be a semi-automatic sniper platform, which the U.S. is using one with the SR-25, like I mentioned. You can create any type of real rifle. There was a belt-fed modification in which you had a little hairpin-looking thing on the end of a belt, and you shoved it into a modified upper receiver. And then I can't remember exactly. I think you had to prime it, the gun, and that would prime the round in. But then after that, it would turn the AR-10 into a 308 or 30 caliber machine gun, basically, or a 308 machine gun, and it would fire 7.62 belts. Then you could also create really smaller versions of the AR-10, which could be like little carbines and whatnot. And since then, the military bought it, and they went one direction with it in Vietnam. That was, we just want a replacement for the M14, something that's cheaper, somewhat as reliable, but it doesn't have to be a 1,000-yard rifle like we were doing with the M14. The M14 is like a 1,000-yard gun. M16 is a 600 to 700-yard gun. So, I mean, there's a difference, but most of your combat takes place within 500 to 600 yards. So, it was a good improvement. Fast forward to now, people are creating bolt-action 50 caliber uppers for AR-15s. They're doing belt-fed AR-15s. They're doing AR-15s that take a plug in the magazine well and that turns them into a 9mm carbine with the right barrel and bolt, and then you put a mag plug in there. Some of them have lower receivers specifically built for certain types of magazines. You can run Glock mags in them. You can run. There's a modded lower that runs AK-47 mags. If you live in an area with a bunch of AK-47s and you want an AR lower receiver to operate on because the controls are all right there or just a fingertip away, you can do that. There's just you can modify these guns to do anything you want. And the cool thing about it is, like I've told some people, with a set of mag plugs and the right upper receivers, one lower, which is what's considered the rifle, which will be what's serialized, I can take one AR-15 and put let's just go in and say I were to do an AR pistol, for instance, which would give me a little more flexibility. With an AR pistol, I could put a pistol brace on the end of it and a pistol barrel, probably about 5-6 inch pistol barrel with an angular grip, and put a mag plug in there and put Glock mags in it and run it as a 9mm trunk carbine or a short barrel pistol with a brace, whatever you want to call it. Then if I go home, I can simply if I've got a strong enough brace on the end of it, in other words, you can have one that folds out. Say I want to go hunting that day. I can go out hunting, pull the upper receiver off of my gun, put on a bolt action 308 upper, put a new mag plug in that would lock down the magazine system so that I couldn't put a magazine in it. Or I could just put a 308 mag inside there if I wanted and run a 308 and go hunt a deer. Kill the deer, swap it back over to my 9mm, head back to the house, and let's say I'm skinning the deer and some idiot has gone out there and started a race war or some nonsense. I could go back inside my house, take the 9mm upper off of it, throw a 5.56 upper receiver on top of it with a carbine length barrel or a full-size rifle barrel, and I've got a basic AR-15 in 5.56. Now, mind you, there are some legal things you got to go through by doing it in the pistol configuration. I can't put an actual rifle stock on there. It has to be a one stock. I can't put a angled foregrip on there that's vertical. But other than that, I mean, it's not too difficult to do. And like I said, that's one gun doing 3 jobs right there. So the AR-15 kind of sits in an area that makes it difficult to regulate. In my opinion, it sits in its own classification of rifle. And when you consider what that classification would be, it's not, even if assault weapon was real, it's not an assault rifle, it's not a battle rifle, it's not a deer hunting rifle, it's a platform that it's kind of a jack of all trades, for instance. I mean, this is the stupidity of the left, though. I mean, when you sit down, you look at the logic behind some of their crap, and then you put it to the test of actual knowledge. It doesn't actually hold up very well. But anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about that. Do you think I covered enough stuff? Do y'all have anything to add to it? Any kind of, I love hearing from you guys when I get the comments, because sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, hey, you know what? That's a really good reasoning right there. And some people have invited me to go over and check out their videos, which I love that. I love going and checking out other people's videos. But anyway, tell me what you think about that. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't like it, you can leave a dislike. I don't care, but I would really prefer a like, honestly. But as always, I am The Last Raider. If you're new to the channel, please remember to subscribe. I'm actually remembering in my last video, I didn't remember to do all this. And as usual, folks, keep your head on a swivel, stay frosty, and I'll see y'all next time.